Alright, let's get right into this one. First off, we have Pirates Cove. And I don't know about you guys, but it felt like all I was playing against for the last 24 hours, whenever I turned on the damn game, was Syndicate, and it got kind of annoying after a while. It was either Syndicate or Nilfgaard, and there was not really much variety beyond that, so I just wanted to kind of put together something that I thought maybe could outpoint Syndicate and deny like a lot of value from the bounties and things like that. So here we are with a wholesome Torque deck with Invigorate. This hasn't been played in the last little while, but I feel like, you know, it's still very strong, and I don't have a lot of experience playing it, but I just looked at what we can do here, and I felt like it was good. It had potential, and it can outpoint a lot of what's going on the ladder right now, so let's give it a shot. So obviously the main focus for us is to try to get those carryover engines as quickly as possible, and we're fortunate enough in this matchup to be on red coin. I felt like I wanted to put the pressure on nice and early, so I felt like, okay, let's just use a leader charge and kind of see where that goes. And actually, I think I take both. I think I take both here. I think I said, you know what, let's see what you've got. Right, I was feeling really spicy in this one. So, and that's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, what I'm doing here is I'm telling them, look, if you want to take the round, you got to make some big commitments. So it actually kind of pans out pretty well. And we'll go through it here because a lot of like the standard removal they have, like they'll have the Horson and they might have the Professor, and then maybe, you know, some people will run paydays or crime cards, and they'll have to bring out their Horson Freak Show to actually finish the kills. So it's one of those things. They might have some poison as well, so Duncan just kind of gets annoying. It requires a big card to remove it. And so with no response to it, I figured why not? We just plug the 2, right? And that's kind of what I was looking for, which is great. Obviously, it would have been better if we can keep getting the carryover, but we knew kind of going into it that it probably wasn't going to be that way, so here we go with the Defender. And I feel like this card here is pretty well only, like, good, I guess you could say, if you're using it with this leader ability. I can't really think of many other like times where it would be good. Guerrilla Tactics would be a consideration. Anything else, you just have to have, you know, some hold of like a boost that you're going to put on it later. It gets kind of tricky at that point. So I'm calling the bluff on the poison here. I don't know if they have it, and even if they do complete it, there's time to leave. I really like to see that. So Philippa's out, and that can make a huge difference for later. Philippa and Horson, I felt like it was a pretty good commitment. At this point, I decided to pass because it's a huge deficit to make in 2 cards, as well as the fact that they're getting 2 points per turn off of the tax collectors, and then you have, of course, the hand buffs that they'll be getting as well. So it gets kind of tricky here. I do think I have enough to defend the bleed and kind of demand a long round, so we'll just roll with that from here. I don't think we can just get slow engines. We have to have kind of like point slams if they're going to push us. Couple dry pass cards here, you know, in the event that they don't want to play into it. We have the Hawk Smuggler, and then if it looks like they're going to push, we're probably going to be a little slow at the beginning just so we can start getting some foundation here and put down the Whisperer, and I think that'll be alright. And what's nice too is they want to see us go first and like get some cards on the board so they have things to target. So it's very difficult for them to find that proactivity in most cases, right? Because they're either poisoning something, giving it bounty, or just using a profit card that might not necessarily give them any sort of points on the board immediately. So it's not a bad situation. And if they do put down like a spender, then we can actually just go after that. We have access to a couple rebukes here. That's an indication right away they got poison going on in the deck. A lot of people are running Roland right now. I don't think it's too big of a deal. It would have been really nice here if Skags was at 12, but he's not, and I just felt like doing 5 damage probably wasn't the best option. So we'll kind of just see what's going on here and just put down a smuggler and get it. There it is at 12. And again, so far we traded 2 gold cards in exchange for 1 bronze. Feeling pretty good about it so far. Whisper is going to go down here, and at this point I'm deciding it's probably worth it to just give them the card back if that's what they're looking for. We've seen a lot of provisions in the last 2 rounds, and we've yet to really play any ourselves, so I would say it's a pretty fair trade. Horse and Freak Show here tells me that we have a good shot at winning the game. I don't know if they're valuing it as high as it should be. And again, I'm just going to sort of play it slow here and take the rebuke on that before it gets out of hand. I figured at first they might be throwing down the Roland because they don't have a lot of poison in hand, so I felt like we'll just kind of let it sit for a little bit. And now we have to respect 22 points on the board, so I figured we got to get something going here because if they want to play into it, at least we'll have some engines warmed up for the next turn. This also helps kind of get the deck thinned out and some hand buffs going on. So it just makes some sense to pull this here, and fortunately enough we roll into a pair. That's probably going to scare them out of the round. At this point they know it's pretty tricky to get that card back, and if they get bounty to something we can simply purify it. And this puts us in a situation where we don't have to spend like a really big card in order to get back in this round. We could simply just put down that 5, and that'll be enough to get us ahead and some. So again, I think that was actually a pretty good trade-off here. It didn't really feel like we were being bled too hard. Do take in consideration that they do have 2 leader charges left, and we have to go first here. So, you know, the Gourd is at risk. Skags is at risk. Well, pretty much everything's at risk because we're playing super tall. But I'm just kind of relying on them not having enough removal to get rid of everything. So we want to pull Phila. And I think that would pretty well guarantee it. It's a 50% pull for the Phila, so I'm pretty sure. Okay, 33.3. Oh, it's whatever. It's not that we don't have any other options in this case, too. Justice feels pretty comfortable because we have a lot of good just dwarfs and elves, really. And then I think it's just the 1 dryad with the Dunker, right? That's just massive. You guys want to be boosting the Torque in hand because it's going to give the same amount of boost to something else, which is just crazy. 18-point Skags right here acts for 12 points of removal. We have to kind of value that as probably our best card in our hand at this point. Find the right time to play it. And I'm hoping the games are easier today, guys. If you haven't hung out with me yet on Twitch, come check it out. I'll be on probably sometime in the mid-evening, 6-7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's kind of where we're checking out decks. The last couple days, the games have been tough, so I've just been cramming a little bit off stream to kind of just find something that works. And again, that's what I was looking for, something I could share with you guys that would actually help you out.
Artistic's purest tea is purest in all Novgorod.
So at this point in the game, I'm feeling pretty comfortable. We're able to get, you know, double Fenny here. What makes me super comfortable though is the fact that we don't have a lot of removal like coming our way as far as like an engine that they can use and just spend to kill our stuff. So it's probably just going to be a grade, and some people put in a heat wave. or whatever the case, right? But again, I'd rather see the Sorceress get that than the Gourd or the Skag, so... And banks a hit for location. So what I like to do if I'm playing Syndicate is obviously I'm going to take the poison off the Wretched Attic and stick it on something at the end of the game. So we have to keep that in mind. Maybe let the Wretched Attic grow a little bit more so it's kind of worth it on the Skags. But we know pretty well if we leave it like that, they're just more than likely going to take the poison off of it. So that's probably going to be our target for removal here. And it just feels like more points if we boost up Torque, right? So we'll bait him out with something kind of tall, make him feel like that's kind of what we're hiding. And, you know, they can go for it because ultimately we're going to be getting more points out of the last two cards. We have a pretty comfortable lead at this point. Keep in mind they do have 5 coin, the poison pending, and 1 leader charge. And to see Jacques here is kind of scary, right? And that's kind of my last attempt here to really greed that Wretched Attic damage. And, you know, if they're going to remove something, I'd rather it be the Gourd than the Skags. At this point, we're getting more points off the Skags. Just take a look at how many points we have. Like, all that green health against Bounty, which is it's pretty wild. When I see Siggy, I'm thinking maybe Caesar. I'm also thinking maybe Poison. So, again, it's one of those things. Go ahead and take the kill there. We dealt 12 damage, which is crazy. We had a really big ceiling with that, so... Sitting at 93 points, guys. And see, they're pretty well telling us that, you know, if we were to leave the poison there, they would have been able to complete it. At this rate, they would have been able to take the Skags if they wanted as well, so the 22 points could have made a huge difference here. And it just wasn't enough. Moving on to game number 2, and I swear these games were pretty well back-to-back. It seemed like everything I was queuing was Syndicate. Like I said, when even when I put this deck together. Feeling pretty good after the first one, so it just makes sense. Let's hop in, keep the routine the same. We know they're going to want to try and beat us on even around 1. I think we can accept that, you know, if we're going first. So, last game we're fortunate enough to have red coin, but this time around it's going to be a little bit trickier. And I thought I'd just chuck that one down, because if they have the horse in, they might want to respond on it right here, which kind of makes it a little nice for the carryover cards that we have. So horse and check's done. Doesn't look like they have to me in hand. They could be holding out for a Dunka or something, who knows. So already you see the coin abuse here. And we just have to go about it business as usual. It sucks that we're obviously not going to be playing Torque. We don't necessarily want the Rebuke because it's a little bit slow. Circle of Life's kind of like a red coin card. So it's really hard to dig into this round, you know. Here is where I say, okay, doesn't look good for us. Let's see if we can get out of it with Simlas, because I don't want to lose on even. And worst case scenario, we get a couple engines out there, and you know, we go for it a little bit, and think we'll be alright kind of thing.
Out already. I don't have all day.
Buys us a bit of time. If they want to kind of keep us losing on even, they got to make some commitments right now. So something that's going to remove the sorceress. Okay, payday in this case, right? So that is our way out. And I'm pretty sure we take it, right? Because we know if we play Circle and Rebuke, we're kind of just going to get stuck on the next turn. They do have 5 coins just sitting there as well. Gives us an opportunity to sort of recomp our hand and see what else we could do there. Yeah, it's a good pass.
Perhaps a different ingredient. An active one.
And this way we don't have to worry about breaking Simlas either. I kind of like the control from the Rebukes, but I don't necessarily like the Circle here, so we're going to chuck it back. And we do a pretty good pass card. Even if they pass at 7, we get ahead with just playing far left here. And we do have an elf in hand, so it works out quite well. Boost it to 6, because then we get a Bountiful Harvest. Another play that I might try to look for would be like Waters Up Rocklon if we can get it up to 12, but it's pretty versatile, and I think that even if it just plays a Bountiful Harvest, it's pretty good. We get the pass here. I don't need to take any thinning. It's not really worth putting up those extra points with Council just to get maybe like a +2 carryover. It doesn't really make much sense. So we'll take it to round 3. I think that our game is probably best short round for round 3. Right, we just slam maybe 30-40 points in a few turns, but again, it's kind of the hand we're dealt here. We had to pass in round 1, so now we just have to see if we can make the best out of it. And I think that's the hand here. We might pull into something we don't want otherwise. And this deck's got like a good amount of units, but not like an overwhelming amount of units. There was kind of a sweet spot for finding the units that we want to boost only kind of thing, and just having spells surround it without putting too many units. Because that way it's sort of like a regulated hand buff. We don't really want our 4P bronzes get huge if we're not going to want to play them later on. So Horson comes down in exchange for a Hawk Smuggler. I think that's a very good trade. Now we can just probably rebuke it and get rid of it just in case, or even just, yeah, take Skags here. And fishing with Skags is really good if we're trying to get out the grade in or something like that, if they're playing like a heavy bounty list, right? We're getting really good rolls off the Bountiful Harvest. It's always the Sorceress, really. You hate to see you hate to see that card take it out, but it is what it is. Now, I'm hoping to greed it to 13 here so that I can get the Waters of Broccolon. It is a little bit of a gamble, but at the end of the day, we have to try and take a little bit of gambles here because it's a tough matchup overall.
Strong and immune.
And boom. Okay, you like to see it. Huge lead right now, but we do have 2 really good engines I'd like to keep alive. they're probably going to be a target shortly. There it is. I guess that was a good time for them to go and take that there. I don't know if it was intentional to boost it by the one there to keep it out of a rebuke range, but it just so happens that now it's kind of annoying to get out of their side of the playing field, so we hope that they don't profit too much here. I've sort of accepted that, you know, some of our units are going to get killed at this point. I was trying to decide if I should 2-ping it, but then I figured it's not even worth it. We'll just actually hit for 5 points, because every point might matter at this point in the game, right? Now, Torque being 13, and Gort actually being very big as well. Everything looks pretty good. Like, we know, okay, at this point, Jackpot, it's probably going to be Siggy. Actually, they would have missed Siggy if they put down the Caesar first. Could have been a misplay. I actually don't remember if they have Siggy in hand. And this is actually just a temperature check. So me putting Gord down for 18, second to last, when I could have saved it for last, it doesn't really matter either. Like, if they're gonna remove it, they're gonna remove it, essentially. But it's one of those things where it's like, you know, if they just do it, I'll just get the game over with, kind of thing. So, you know, we're all in, guys. They have 9 coins, and they have mystery cards, so what's it gonna be? And Mariel's, it wouldn't have actually mattered if we played it last or second to last, because we didn't have last say, but it just happens to be enough and we hold on there. And what do you know? Literally the next game back to back. All I did was clip the queue time in between these two. Another Pirates Cove. And the worst part is that we're going first. So last time we were able to get out and, you know, defend the bleed. This time, hopefully we're as lucky, you know? So far the hand's not looking like a pushing hand to me. It's all bronze. We want to have at least a couple solid golds that can make, you know, the round in our favor. So here we are. I'm boosting it, I'm giving it Veil to avoid maybe sort of poison, forcing them to play something a bit bigger. Just a Heat Wave off the bat, and now it's like, what is in this deck? I guess they put Heat Wave instead of Horse, and it's the same provisions, so that's kind of what I'm factoring in that case. It's basically the same thing. And it's better that we just get rid of that now and not have to worry about, you know, our huge stacked units later on, so I don't even mind that trade too much. And this is all great, you know, they can't give bounty to something with Veil, but again, the plays that we have available to us are really slow. Like, we have a hand buff, we've got like a couple little hand buffs that aren't really doing a whole lot, and I just see a bunch of immediate threats keep coming down here, so it was one of those things where I'm trying to decide, you know, do I just accept the loss on even? Do they just concede? Or what, you know what I mean? It's one of those things. So Horston comes down, and I'm thinking, alright, that's not bad. Maybe at this point we just give them round, because we saw Caleb, we saw Horston, like, we're seeing Heatwave, right, just back to back to back, like gold slams. So I figured we're not going to take that card with us, we'll just use it here, take the carryover, because if they do win on even, they're going to bleed pretty hard into round 2, right? They'll just go all the way if they can. And then the leader charge comes out too. They realize they don't want to let me have that opportunity to pass with all the gold cards spent. So they drop a leader charge. And I think that's when I decided, you know, that's good enough, right? Someone asked me a question on Twitch earlier today. Do we have to win round 1? Is it okay to let them win round 1? I think that this is one of those circumstances where, yeah, it's not a bad idea to let them win the round. If they want it that badly, they can have it, right? Again, it's looking a little 2-0 territory, right? But now it's looking a little bit better. So Simlas is going to save the day here, I think, and Protector's obviously nice to see as well. Skag's kind of displaced for 6 here, so we have to do something about that. And Circle, we're probably not going to get a chance to play.
In this world, only 2 things are certain.
And I just want to respect kind of the bleed that they're doing here, just in case. Also to let them kind of know we're ready for it too. But, you know, as we start playing units, chase them, I don't want to have not enough units left that our leader doesn't work properly, so it's better just to get it out now.
Round the corner, right? After her!
And I'm just trying to tempo ahead here to show them it's not worth pushing. But again, they won on even, so they're probably just going to keep going, right?
Evil's not going anywhere.
So they're getting the cards they kind of want to see. Huge commitments in round 1 for them. I guess it's a pretty good trade back. I actually pulled 2 of these and I figured, why don't we just remove both engines they have, right? Just makes a lot of sense versus putting the sorceresses on our side and they're probably going to get destroyed anyways. And at this point I can tell that they're getting ready to pass on it because that's just doing carryover, right? And so let's just play our carryover while we have the opportunity versus playing something we don't need to play. I was starting to consider temple passing, but I figured let's put down an actual engine, because if I hero pass, I want to at least have something giving points on the board. The other option would have been to take the carryover and give 2 more points to our elf in hand, but again, strongly considering just temple passing here, and I think they know that. So again, Skags is just going to close the deal, and that's the awkward spot, because, you know, especially beginning of season, like, they're playing a quote-unquote meta deck, but there's so many different variants, so it's hard to tell what they might have in there. There could be just a bunch of weird stuff in there, so here we are. Feeling pretty good. We have tons of points in 2 cards alone. Access to Gord. And I started to get an idea. So we got the 17 points in hand, and that's going to do 13 damage. So it just makes sense that we keep the bonded here, just so we could take out like a Jackal or something like that. And if this lives, it just gives us so much value, so we'll put it here. And that's really good trade. I mean, they knew it was going to get out of hand, so we'll just drop that down. Make it look like it's not really much of a threat. At this point, Gord's not very big. Gord's about, give or take, 10 points. Like, it's not really big here. So I figured I might roll the Phila, and we'll look at what happens in a minute here, see if I did that. It would be about the same, but the points are more spread out. Yeah, so Gord is 10, 11 off of call. This is something I was thinking about, so it's nice to be able to watch it. So 5. And obviously you see a runestone, you kind of want to see what's going on, right? 4.
This is elven land.
10, 11. So it's the exact amount of points. It's the same amount of points. But the positive part, obviously, is that, you know,
Like a hot iron.
it's split up. We want to drop the 17 here just because it's like an all or nothing thing. We saw the Murals, we saw the Heat Wave, so I'm thinking there's no other tall punish. We want to get that damage out there. I don't want to give bleeding because that could cost us the game. And Graydon? Okay. There's a third one. I wasn't planning for it, but at least it was only on a 4. And 38 to 11, I mean,
Right to make such a claim.
if they crank leader and have a surprise Yurden or something, maybe, but I don't think they have the provisions for that. Appreciate you guys coming out, watching another video. See the way that this one ends.
That witch was brewing magic
Special
concoction.
prize. Just for you, though.
And if you enjoy the content that I do and you guys like what we're all about here, definitely drop a like, comment, let me know what you think, subscribe to the channel, and thank you guys. We'll see you soon.